Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Um,
evening.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure you come in. Make sure you like and you share. Um, Again, thanks for coming in. My name is Justine Ingram. I am a capacity building specialist with Southern AIDS Coalition. Welcome to the Southern Belle SOS Talk. I'm here today with Zarian Newbill, Tiffany Starr, and beautiful Fendi Divine. Hey, ladies.
Hi.
Hey, good evening.
Again, so thanks everybody for coming in. Make sure you're coming in the room. Make sure you're liking and you're sharing on your networks and with your friends. We're about to have a really, really good conversation. So to get started, just want to give everyone an introduction to why we are here. This is one of our SOS Talk series. Again, I'm Justine Ingram. I'm a capacity building specialist with Southern AIDS Coalition. So this particular talk is about the Southern Belle, and we will be having an open discussion with three trans women of color who grew up and who are currently living within the South. So it's very, very important that we uplift the voices of transgender women of color specifically, especially during these current times. And so a lot of time when we do see voices and we do see trans people in media, we very rarely kind of hear of those stories from those that are from the South. So this is the time for us to kind of share our quite different and sometimes similar experiences of just navigating through the South as trans women of color. So I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to have each of the ladies introduce yourself. Tell us where you grew up from. Make sure that you tell us any affiliations that you may have. And then for something really fun, give me one of your most memorable childhood memories. And we'll start with Ms. Newbill.
Hi, everyone. So I am Zarian Newbill. I am the founder and executive director of NOMO organization, stands for Navigating Committed Minds Over Time. We are based out of Atlanta as well as our chapter in Macon, Georgia. I also am affiliated with Healing Black Women on Instagram. You can follow us there. We have been nationally recognized as a mental health um, um, platform, if you if you want to say that. And I also am the founder of Demo Inspiration, which just signed a contract with J Megs with I think it's Living Out Loud with J Megs. It's every other Monday, starting at 9 o'clock. I was born in Hawkinsville, Georgia. So I am a real Southern Belle, Southern peach here, but I was raised in Macon, Georgia, which they consider Middle Georgia. And I would have to say one of my fondest childhood memories would be when we moved to Macon, Georgia in 1997. I believe it was the summertime. And this was the only summer I was free and all at the time. 13 of my cousins, we were all together for the entire summer. And I hope my cousin don't beat me up, but we used to pick on one of my cousins in the bed all the time. He used to be in the bed all the time. It'd be so funny. Oh my stars. So having my cousins, having all of us together, that family was definitely one of my funnest childhood memories, especially during the summertime.
All right, Ms. Starr.
So my name is Tiffany Starr. I'm originally from New York, but we left New York at an early age, and I moved to Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's where I graduated from high school, and then I moved further south to Atlanta, Georgia in 1992. I need to stop giving these dates so I'll be told my age. So I'm real Southern Belle. But one of my fondest childhood memories. Um, I can remember when I was starting to transition, my cousin bought me a padded Patricia bra. So that was the highlight of it all. I went to Victoria's Secrets and got my first padded Patricia bra. So I'm very thankful to her. Um, I don't need the pads anymore. So, as it relates to organizations, I'm currently self-employed. I am the owner and operator of Browse and Beyond in downtown Marietta Square. So anybody's interested in getting microbladed or micro shaded or powdered brows, please come see me. I'm an entrepreneur. As a My occupation relates to the community. I'm also an entertainer. I'm the reigning Miss VIP Plus, that's Victorian International Plus. Our pageant will be held in January of 2021, providing COVID, going about her business. But I consider myself an advocate for the community, within the community. I'm not affiliated directly or employed directly by any organization, but I feel I do my best to represent the community that I like to serve.
Thank you. All right, beautiful with two L's.
Hi, greetings, everyone, and good evening out there. My name is Beautiful Two L's, last name Divine. So, actually, really quick, I grew up in Virginia, two up, two down. I lived in New York and every city between New York and Atlanta. Now I reside here for about 7 years now. I currently serve on a few boards in the community as far as advocating and getting different resources to individuals, whether they live the trans experience or if they are HIV positive or negative. Housing, mental health, I do direct work with that as well. I am a community health worker at Positive Impact Health Centers, where we have 3 different locations in Georgia. And that's about it. You can call me almost anytime if there's anyone in need. If I can direct them to some of the resources or some friends like Justine, Zarion, or Miss Star to ours, then that's exactly what I do. I am the community. Reach out and I am here. That's all.
What is one of your fondest childhood memories, Beautiful?
Oh, see, okay. So one of my fondest childhood memories would be a few of them, and I'm gonna say a few because so when I was trying to discover myself at an early age, I would go in my mom's closet and dress up in her clothes and shoes, and then I would hear someone driving up the driveway, and so I got to hurry, take off all the clothes and the shoes and put everything back perfectly in the closet so they would not know that I've been dressing up in their clothes. And then my mom would be like, my closet look a little different. I'm like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. So I would say trying not to get caught, because every time I had the house to myself, I would go and play in her clothes and shoes. I don't think she's watching, but well, that was me.
Thank you. So thanks for sharing that, y'all. So I guess I'll tell a little bit about myself before I start moderating. I was born in Austin, Texas. I grew up in Warner Robins, Georgia. So that's like right outside of Macon, maybe like 5 minutes. So you think of Atlanta and think of Decatur. It's like Macon, Warner Robins. I do work with Southern AIDS Coalition, of course, but I also work in partnership with a lot of other agencies and organizations in the Metro Atlanta area in regards to transgender housing. So, one of my fondest childhood memories is the majority of my family lived in a place called Sparta, Georgia. So every time somebody hears Sparta, Georgia, I always go to Heat of the Night. But most of my family lived in Sparta, Georgia. So in the summer times, we would go to Sparta and be with all of our cousins and all of our family. And our granddad, who used to have a bunch of pigs and cows and stuff, he would let us get on the back of the truck and we would like ride down the road. And I remember just like looking over the truck while he's just so dangerous, but we'll move on. But I just used to love getting on the back of the truck and going to like the pastures to go see all the cows and the pigs and the chickens.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, girls.
We used to do that too.
Country girl. That's how you know. Like,
I mean, me too, girl. Jump out of the truck in a watermelon patch, take the watermelon, bust it in, and start eating it out. But I wouldn't do that now. But you know, when I was a kid, when I was a little girl, that's what I used to do.
We had blackberry patches behind our trailer, so trust me, I know about it. I know about it.
The little honeysuckers. And you the little honeysucker.
Yes.
I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna start. Okay,
because you know, we'll go back down memory lane real quick.
Right.
So getting into, we kind of briefly talked about our childhood memories. I kind of want to talk about representation within the transgender community. So for a lot of us coming up in the rural South, we know that there wasn't a lot of representation of trans women. So how did you guys like kind of find your way into like transitioning? Did you have like some type of guidance? Did you look to somebody? Like what was that moment for you where you kind of like knew this is who I am and these are the steps that I can take to get there?
Well, I guess I'll start. I already knew at 4 years old at a very, very early age. However, growing up in a very, very country town like Hawkinsville, where the population is maybe like 5 people, nothing is really seen there. And so, you know, going from Hawkinsville to Michigan, and then me still trying to figure out who I am because my parents began to become extremely religious in the church and all. So suppressing that for a long time was an issue. And so it wasn't until I was old enough to start going out to the clubs when I started cross-dressing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm finally able to be me. However, that got shut down real quick. So once that got shut down, I was like, you know what? Let me just wait until I'm fully grown and mature enough to make the now decision to do what I wanted to do for my life. And so it wasn't until I moved up here to Atlanta with my ex-husband, and he's the one that actually encouraged me to go ahead and move into my transition because he saw how unhappy that I was. So once I started transitioning at 26 years old, because I'm 31 now, so I have been transitioning long. And so when I started transitioning, I was like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel like the person I've always wanted to be for 26 years. And so when I turned 30 years old, I put a post on Facebook apologizing to the 18-year-old girl that was just cross-dressing at the time and really not having that courage to be who she was supposed to be at 18, but due to environmental factors and not really having any positive representation or images of what I felt being trans was, you know, I had to wait another almost 12 years to go back and apologize to that girl who was 18 years old. And so now I'm in a space now where I encourage anyone that's coming up in their transition, definitely need to make sure you are modeling your transition based off of healthy guidances. Nothing that's going to hurt you or harm you, because I'm pretty sure we all know about certain things that's for us and that's not for us. So so I try to make sure I look up to people like you, Justine, and Beautiful with 2 L's, and First Lady Tiffany Star over there with 2 R's. You ladies are gold to me. And so because you all have been transitioning longer than me, I'm like, wow, I aspire to be this way. You know, so yeah, you are really my first really image of positive representation of trans women for you all. When I started really coming into the full circle of trans women here in Atlanta.
Oh, girl, we
Thank you.
okay.
That's your
Yeah.
I'll take that. Miss Star, would you like to go next?
So, transitioning. So my transitioning started when my mother sent me to Job Corps thinking that was going to cure it. But going to Job Corps was where the transition actually started. So kudos to her for sending me off, to get my
Thank
training.
okay.
And going to Job Corps in Earl C. Clemens in Kentucky back in the 90s. There was a couple of girls. I guess, seeing how I'm a few years older than most of you all, transitioning was different. We didn't we didn't have the labels, but I guess we're going to talk about names later. But the transitioning for me, um, I guess deep down inside, I don't feel like I ever transitioned. I felt like I knew I was born to be a woman. I just didn't know how to get to that place. So going to Job Corps, and I actually saw people that looked like me, even though, it was against the rules to transition. It was just enough information to let me know, okay, this is what I need, you know. So I immediately started mine, and when I left, in Job Corps, it was against the rule to wear women's clothing, da 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 da. So we started transitioning. We couldn't get medication, so all of us grew our hair. You could never, you know, um, tell a person they can't grow their hair. So mine started there, and then I moved to Orlando in '92 or 91 when I finished Job Corps. And that's when it really started. And I didn't really have a mentor that was a trans woman. I just reflected on the female that were in my life that I inspired to be. So um, that's where my, I guess, guidance came from, of wanting to be the woman. I can a real quick story. Like my aunt Nona, she lives in Alabama. She ate wheat thin crackers, and I just knew if I ate wheat thin crackers, I was gonna be fish. So I ate a lot of wheat thin crackers, and so it was just the simple things. She ate wheat thin crackers, and she polished her nails on Sundays. So that's where my inspiration and my guidance came from. Strong, powerful women such as my aunt.
Thank you. Miss Beautiful, two L's.
Hi, this is Sue again. So, let me see. I was like Tiffany. So, at 19 years old, I started in college. So, I came like Zarian. I guess we all have similar experiences. So, I grew up in a very small town where my family ran the church, and I was supposed to be like junior pastor and all that, and I was doing everything to work on to that, but I knew early on like there's something different about me. Anything feminine or female, even entertainers, I would draw more to them, like more Patti LaBelle than Luther. So I was like, wow, I always loved all the female entertainers more than the male entertainers. So long story short, I'm in college. I went to this club I should not have gone to, quote unquote. And I see these entertainers and I'm like, oh my God, like my heart just felt whole. Like, oh my God, I found something that really makes me happy. I don't have to think about anything else. Like it was just this overcome feeling that I had watching these entertainers across the stage. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. So I think for me, my transition started with entertaining first because I would do shows and I would dress up, even though early on I knew that there was something different about me. I mean, I had girlfriends and stuff of that nature, but growing up, we do things in the Black community or my community, my church, and all that, my family to, set aside the family because you have to do this, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to go to school. And that's what it was like. And it was like, I get all of that, but it's something else missing. And that missing component was beautiful with 2L. And so 99. I experimented, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. So once I really came within myself and realized, okay, so listen, you can do this. You can be a woman. You can be successful. You can be positive to other individuals. And I think I looked up to, like, I seen trans women, I seen entertainers, female impersonated entertainers, but like Tiffany said, I had a strong will towards females in my family. So my mom is like, I see her like a very strong person. She gets shit done. And, so I was just like, I wanted to kind of model what I see other strong women in my family do. And then I just wanted to be pretty. That's all it was. I wanted to be pretty. I wanted to be successful, and I want to have coins. And that's how that started. And I didn't really have back then, like early 2000, I didn't know what HRT or doing things the correct way. You know what I'm saying? I would see the girls do what they do, go to who they go to, and get stuff done. But I didn't really know exactly what was going on until I started asking questions. And I'm not really part of like click shit. So, I have one or two girlfriends that say, "Oh no, girl, you need to do this and do that." And then I kind of started my own path. And in that path, I just realized what I like and what I wanted for me, my mind, and my body. And there are a few girls that are in my circle that I do look up to now. Like, I don't feel like my transition is really complete. Like, I believe that I go through a transition every day, because every day I think about the next day. So the next day, I want to be a better person, period, than I was the day before. So I always try to build myself and to become more of a better person to other individuals. And within that, I'll become a better woman, period.
And Q&A, that's beautiful, divine.
I got the good pointers from you, baby.
She answered that. But all of y'all kind of brought up some topics that I just kind of want to address. So as we were saying, most of you all were saying is that, representation was kind of scarce due to the geographic location that you all are from. So you kind of model womanhood, or what you want it to be on the inside to what on the outside. You kind of modeled it from positive cisgender women that were within your lives. But now it's like, what I noticed is that there's always like a rap or unspoken like drama or dilemma or argument or fight between transgender women and cisgender women. So like, what do you think the issue is with that? Like, why is this so prevalent? Like, what is it? How can we get down to the root cause of this? And how can we like fix it so it just stops happening?
So I'll get on that first.
Okay. Come on, First Lady.
So I will say, as it relates to trans women and cisgender women, I think it's a lot of underlying jealousy and more so competition on their behalf, thinking that we want all of their men, as if the men belong to them. It's always like, oh, we just want to be women. We don't want to be, we are. And it's so much of them trying to tell us what we want or what we should be doing, or you're not really women, where we don't sit around and talk about them or think about them. We sleep with the men that we gonna sleep with. We have who we gonna have. And just if there's any cisgender women watching, or someone's gonna share this, they're not making no new men. We sleeping with the same men. And I think that becomes a problem for them, because they can't understand why the men that they're attracted, or the men that's supposed to like them, happen to like us, and they're so quick to attack, like, well, they don't even look like women. Look at that. They're so quick to point out, oh, she has an Adam's apple. She sounds like a man. She's deep voice and da 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 da. All those things. A lot of us have Adam's apple. Some of us have deep voices. Men like that. They know. Or, you're a faggot, you're a punk, or you're a guy. But that's all right. The guys know what we are when they come. You know, no matter how much we transition, how beautiful we become, you know, a lot of us get top surgery, bottom surgery, side surgery, hips, ass. You know, the men, they know what it is. And it's, you know, it's always a problem because it ends up being a competition where we're not in competition with them. They feel like they're winning the race, but you always in competition with us. You know, like I don't never wake up, oh well, I wonder what fish gonna think about me today. You know, that's never been an issue for me. I know what I think about me, and I know what her man or some men or several men may think about me. So I think the competition or the problem is a lot of times it's insecurities on their behalf.
So two things I do want to say because I've heard the term like fish 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
So fish. Can somebody explain to me what fish is? First off.
So coming from the streets or you know within our community, we just like anything, we come up with the labels for identification purposes. Just like someone came up with cisgender woman. Before we got to cisgender, down under, we used to call women that were cisgender, we called them fish. It wasn't meant to be derogatory or nothing like that. That was just the name that we came up with. And there are a lot of slang within our community. But just like anything, when something is not considered appropriate, people end up want to have a problem. And most of the time, the people that have the problem with it is cisgender women. How are they to tell us what type of vocabulary and what kind of conversation we're trying to have within our own community? Now, so fish came from something that we developed for females, but at the same time, we use fish. Someone may say, "Oh, Miss Justine, you're fishy." So, if we're not gonna be mad with me giving you that compliment and calling you fishy, let's not be mad if I call this young lady fish. And even if she's mad, this is our conversation within our community. She shouldn't even know about what we're using.
But do we do see and we do acknowledge like the term fish of like how cisgender women can take that as being derogatory?
I don't acknowledge that because I don't see how. Because I will say this because I saw a post recently about this, and someone was saying that fish was brought up because how someone smelled, and they find that derogatory. So my thing is, you y'all were thinking in the way of smell. We were thinking in a pretty way, like goldfish, beautiful blue starfish. We were doing it in a positive way. Oh, girl, you're so fishy. But y'all took it that way, and that's what y'all interpreted as what it means, and that's not what it means. But my thing is, you want us to change that vocabulary and that verbiage from saying fish, but you don't like the word cisgender neither. But you're not going to change the word of calling us faggot or she-males and things of that nature. So don't pick and choose what you want to change unless we're going to change all of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And so this is a question specifically towards beautiful. So we kind of talked about the relationships between cisgender women and like the arguments and the kind of like competition. I don't know if you remember, it was a few months back, there was a show on Netflix where individuals were like blind dating and they couldn't see each other. And a young man came out as being bisexual on the show. And so I was in a setting and everybody was talking about it within that setting, cisgender people. And the conversation came up with the young lady saying that, you know, they could never date a bisexual man. And so I made the statement, I said, well, could you date an individual who dated a transgender woman? Could you date the same? If you met a potential partner and he told you that he dated a transgender woman before, could you date that? Could you date that individual? And they all said no. And I said, is it because you don't see transgender women as women? Oh no, I see it. I respect it. I said, or is it because you feel like if a cisgender man dated a transgender woman, that he will give you HIV and AIDS? So, what is your viewpoint on that?
My viewpoint is almost similar to Tiffany. Like people, society itself want to use stuff when it's use terms and analogies when it's convenient for them. Because let's be clear, there are a lot of women dating bisexual men that they don't even know about, hence the DL men. So for a person to say, "Oh, I'm not going to date this type of person or that type of person," when majority of the people aren't being 100% honest anyway. So you might be dating someone that you don't even know their whole situation. Then on top of that, as far as competition, first we have competition within our own community as trans individuals. And I think we allow society to bring on that competition between us, hence balls, pageants, all of that nature. The competition between cis women and trans women of experience, I think it's an unknown like token that they feel as if we want to be them. Now, some people might use some cisgender women as a model for what they want to become. But for myself, and I only can speak with an I statement, I just want to be a woman. And if that woman that I want to become similarities to what this cisgender woman is, then that's what it is. I don't seek out to be anyone else but myself and to be a better person. And going back to your question, um, I mean, it's kind of hard to say like, okay, so if I have, because I have family members that like deal with me, fuck with me, hard body, whatever. I'm not gonna let nothing happen to you. You're my sister. You're my cousin. You're a woman. To me, I don't know the trans word that doesn't even.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay, come on for the frozen.
She's frozen. It's a good view.
Because she look like she's about to go all the way in.
Right. We'll come back to beautiful. So Zari, I know that you said that you were from Hopkinsville, Georgia, and from the Middle Georgia area. I'm around from that area as well, so I'm very familiar with those locations and the folks there. If y'all didn't know, Young Jeezy was from Hopkinsville.
Yes, he is. I just want to put that curse out there. Don't let him tell you Macon because he's from the Ville, period.
So I know, like within our own communities, and just listening to my family, there was type of language that we use. And so what I realized is that when I moved to the city or when I moved to a place that was more affirming, such as Atlanta, that some of the language that I was using to describe not only myself, but other community members was very offensive to other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Did you experience that? And then how did you like adapt to change that 28 years of thinking as an individual from the country South to somebody that's going into leadership within the community and trying to use the correct language and terminology? Because it's like we had to rechange and rewire our whole way of thinking.
Well, so for me, growing up in that area, which is very unacknowledged about certain terminology because certain areas have just been conditioned to think a certain type of way. Using the word punk, faggot, all of those derogatory terms, yes, they bothered me. Yes, they got up under my skin because at the time I did identify as just being a Black gay man at that specific time. However, once I came out to my family and stuff like that, it wasn't as prevalent, it wasn't said as much. However, within going to school and being in those type of settings, if you are gay, yes, I got picked on because I was the awkward looking voice boy that graduated from a private Christian school. So it was extremely hard. But I shared a story with my mom on Sunday, and I told her when a person is just done with you, when you get tired of just being tired of people picking on you, you gotta take matters in your own hands. And I never forget my sophomore year, this guy, he would pick on me every single day. And at this point, I just got mad. I went and I punched him. I didn't stop until I saw blood. Because I was so upset because all of those years of just hurt and being called all of those names and being picked on just came out. And so I was like, you know what, this is not even who I am. So let me just kind of shy away from that. So thank God for my family who loves and accepts me for who I am, who I was then, and even more who I am now. So now crossing over, becoming a trans woman, excuse me, now I hear the term tranny. And so even now back home in Macon, and you know, with some of the guys that be trying to holler at me, or some of the DL men that be trying to holler at me, oh, you know, that's a tranny, this, that, and third. And I have to politely correct them and let them know, listen, tranny is like you calling me a bitch, which is something I am not. So if we're going to have a mutual respect of a conversation here, you can say Miss Goddess, or you can just call me a woman, period. But that training has got to go. And then even in our own community, some girls, they see it as, you know how we like, bitch, you so crazy, this and that, third. And so some people use it as a term of endearment when, you know, other trans women are calling each other tranny. I'm not one of those women that identify as it being a term of endearment. That's not who I am. And nothing against those ladies that do. But I'm in a position now in the community where I want people to think higher of yourself than just being a tranny, because that's something that came from the streets. And in order to graduate your level of thinking, what you need, what I preach. Well, I should say preach. Let me just take that back. I know I'm the mother of the church, but let me take that back. What I try to encourage is that you don't have to, you know, terminologies to fit in, to be who you want to be. You can become who you want to be based on who you want to see and how you see yourself in the future. So being a trans woman is different from being a tranny. And I have to explain that to them. I was like, why would you want to be a tranny? Something that has come up and that is very derogatory. Why go ahead and be a trans woman, or just be a woman, period, and walk in that. Because one of the things growing up, my mom has always taught my sisters, and I was sidelined in on that conversation. My mom told my sister, when you grow up, make sure you're a woman. Be a lady at all times. Act like a lady. Carry yourself as one. Because that's how not only people will respect you, but they would see that you respect yourself.
Did anybody else want to add on to that? Because I know things for me, such terms such as like transsexual and tranny, it wasn't derogatory. I didn't view it as derogatory coming up, because that's what I heard, and that's what kind of like differentiated someone from being, I guess, what we would call gender nonconforming now. So back when I began transitioning, I think that it was more or less like phases. It was more or less like stages. So you would go into it, and you may, because we didn't have that representation or that proper language, you would go in it and you might start trying on women's shirts. And then those women's shirts came to, now you wearing women pants. So then next thing you know, you done went in there and got one of your grandma's shake and go wigs and then put it on your head, and now you carrying a purse. The next phase to that was to go in there and get you a bra and pad it. And so I would consider myself a tranny or a transsexual once I got to a certain point. So that's what I was trying to get at, because then it's like when you move into a larger city where there are phenomenal advocates and stuff, I think that we kind of missed out on that education, or that educational portion of like, how do we identify ourselves? And like you said, it's looking at yourself as more than what society placed on us. So especially for us within the South, as just people of color, as trans people, as people that's belonging to a marginalized population, I think sometimes that we don't respect ourselves enough, and we already pigeonhole ourselves to a particular place or situation. Which brings me to my next point. So employment, kind of
Well,
talking
can I
about.
say something about that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, because I know this is going to be
Okay.
good. So go ahead.
So no, I was just gonna speak and follow up, like what you were saying. I think a lot of time the labeling comes from perhaps where you're from and how
Mhm.
it's meant. Prime example, when I came out a few years before y'all, we didn't even have tranny. Like you just had to go straight to being once you just became a girl. You know what I'm saying? And in my generation, we just went full out girl. You know what I'm saying? It was if you wasn't doing it 24 hours a day, you just did it at night for the shows or whatever, you were a drag queen. But if you did it all day, every day, you just was a girl. We didn't have the word training. And I know with me in my transition, I never really considered myself a tranny. Even as an entertainer, I used to always say, I'm not going to compete in a pageant that says Miss Gay Georgia because I don't want to be associated with that. I want to be associated with just being a woman, not a gay woman. I'm a woman. And so, with me not wanting to be Miss Gay Georgia, I didn't want to be like Miss Tranny Georgia. But lo and behold, I end up competing for a pageant. Miss Trans International. So when that being done, that immediately nationwide there's Miss Black Trans. So then I got labeled, but I consider myself a woman. I don't feel like I think the word tranny, just depending on how it's being used and when it's being used and who's using it and how they're trying to address you, I feel like I don't go in a room and say, "Hey, I'm Miss Tiffany, Miss Trans Tiffany," or I don't even feel like I need to say, "Hey, my pronouns are she, her, and hers." I feel
Mhm.
like if I'm a woman, that's all I need to say that I'm a woman. I almost said the word fish. Cisgender women, they don't go, "Oh, I'm cisgender." They just say their name, and I think you know it just depends on the settings and who's leading the conversation and where the space is. I live in East Cobb and I just go to work or I just wake up as Tiffany.
Mhm.
I don't wake up and say, "Hey, I'm a trans woman." Or, I understand the difference and I understand that we need to differentiate, at certain times. But I personally, and this is just my I statement, I think as a community, we're putting way too much emphasis on trans, 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 trans. Well, we should just be women. Put a lot more emphasis on being women because I think sometimes being so much trans, it handicaps us and it makes us downplay our own self. Like, for example, even with the Black Lives Matter movement, like we're talking about Black lives. As a trans woman, I'm Black before I was trans. Even being trans, I'm still Black. So I think we should just concentrate on who we are, not stop trying to explain or ask for permission to be a trans woman. Honey, I'm a woman. I'm not asking for permission. I am a woman because I said I'm a woman. I don't have to identify or explain to you what type of woman that I am. I'm a woman.
And I think that goes back to the question, to the initial question, Justine, when you was asking what is some of the issues. And so some cisgender women have issues with trans women just saying what my sister just said. I'm just a woman, period. Not saying all women do, because my sisters see me as their sister. They see me as a woman. And so some women that aren't educated enough to understand, to have the conversation and say, "Hey, yes, we understand the difference between the two because of the prefix. However, at the end of the day, we are all beautiful women." Because I tell anybody any day of the week, I'll put any of my trans sisters next to any woman, to any cisgender woman, all day. And it's nothing, and it's not to to be divisive, but it just goes to show that women, whether you're cis, trans, whatever you are just a woman. And I think that's one of the issues that cisgender women have with trans women, that we're trying to take away something that is pure, that they were actually born with, which is a quote unquote vagina or whatever, versus us. So that's just, and I'm just saying that from some of the conversations I've had with some of my cisgender girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we just feel like y'all are just trying to take everything. I was like, baby, I ain't trying to take nothing from you, because over here in Gwinnett County, it's about self-denial. So what I got going on over here at my house in Gwinnett County ain't got nothing to do with you over there in Florida. You living just like I'm living my life over here. And the same way the man comes over here, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're just women.
So
Right.
let me follow up a little bit before we move on. I know we got to move on. There was a post recently on Facebook, and I can't remember who page it was on, but they were saying something. The conversation was something to the fact that some cisgender women want us to stop saying that we're women because we're not, or it's offending them, or whatever the case may be. But my thing is, what I identify and what I announce myself, it shouldn't bother you, because you saying you cis doesn't bother me. It doesn't take away or add to the type of woman that I am. And I just think that goes back to so many people wanting, validation. But as people of trans experience, we need to stop asking for permission, asking for validation, or feeling that someone's going to validate us, or we need that. Just go about your day, be who you were intended to be. And as it relates to being born a woman, I was born a woman too. Now, my parts may be a little different, but there are people with ovaries, because that's the first thing that I thought, but you don't have no ovary. There are people with them that don't work. That don't make them any less woman than a woman that has an ovary that does work. Yep. And it's more to being a woman than just that one little ovary. Right. Like, I was born a woman, That's just my opinion. And can't nobody tell me no different. And I'm not looking for or approval. You know what I'm saying? But then a lot of people, but you don't have this and that. But even if you were to go forth and get your bottom surgery, top surgery, sides, they're going to still always find some kind of way to discredit the woman that you are. But if you never ask for permission or approval for your woman, they wouldn't be able to do that. So,
yeah. If I can just chime in real quick, I think really quickly, I think for some cisgender women, or let's just say society, period, it's about different individuals' experiences with our community. So I think that individuals that have a good or positive experience with trans women or trans men, or whatever the case may be, GNC, whatever their title classification is, they don't have any issues with us. It's the ones that feel intimidated by some of the men that they deal with because of what the men did to them because of a situation with a trans woman or whatever that man tried to deal with on the side. And then again, we have television, like Jerry Springer. Like, everybody want to classify every trans woman as what they see on TV. And I was on Jerry Springer, and I didn't get chased around the stage and dragged and pull my hair off and all that stuff, because I was like,
"Me too, girl."
Yes, me too, girl. I was like, oh no, ma'am, I'm not gonna make a fool of myself, because I know a lot of people, and I'm gonna be a fucking lady the whole time. I did a little strip tease or whatever for Steve or whatever, but nobody called me out my name. Why? Because I was up there and I was a woman. I was like, that's fine. I'm a stripper. I do this, I do that, but you won't drag me across no stage. So it's all on individual's perception of that individual person. If people have positive experiences with us, then they don't have anything to say. People who, or the other negative experience is if they don't understand our lifestyle. When people don't understand something, then they have problems, and then they have quirks and all this other shit. But it's like, I don't care about the next person transition unless I'm helping them to become a better person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking at that woman over there in the Walmart, like, I wish I was her. No, I don't. I wish you peace and blessings, and that's it.
So let me tell y'all something, because we just went all off of every question and every topic that I want to say, because y'all get to chatting on me. But speaking of that, we're the Southern Bells, and this is our newest Southern Belle, Zaya, am I saying it right? Wade.
Dahlia Wade.
Right. And so I'm noticing, especially on social media, a lot of like backlash to her father and her mother in regards to her transitioning. And I even was having a conversation with a family member the other day about her. And what they were saying was that they felt like she was so young and they were sexualizing her in her transition. And so
Who is this? Who is this?
It was a family member. Zaya Wade. Zaya.
Who is that? Dwayne
Wade's daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade's daughter. And so we see that it's a lot of like conversations and toxic masculinity and people just being ultimately disrespectful to that family because they're accepting their child. So what I explained to that family member was, if I was 12 years old and in the same position, I wish that my family members or my social support and community would have rallied around me and supported me through my transition, because I kind of felt like some of the things that I had to go through at such an early age or as a young trans woman, I felt like I wouldn't be in those situations and have to go through that. So what is y'all viewpoint on that family that will go with you? Because you got to go through the screen. Go ahead, sister. Mother.
Okay, so listen. I've said this, and it's not long. There is no manual on how to raise your children. Mm-hmm. There is no manual on how to raise a transgender child. There is no manual on how to raise a gay child. There's just no manual. A parent just does the best they know how to. Mm-hmm. That is it. If you don't like it, can we cuss on here?
Oh, I mean, y'all been doing it the whole time. I mean,
yeah, I kind of been doing it already. I do apologize. I do apologize.
I haven't.
It's my tea.
I could give two hits about what they got going on over at their house, because they're doing the best they know how to do. And if people would just mind their own business, mm-hmm. and allow Zaya and Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union to raise their daughter the best way they know how to during this time, even with all the backlash, they're doing a beautiful job, mm-hmm. with her. A beautiful job. They're not getting money on her. They're not getting anything off of this girl except for showing the Black community and the white folks how to properly raise and accept and love your child holistically and not partially. Period. Leave them folks alone. Because while y'all over here robbing Peter to pay Paul, they ain't got to do that.
Right.
Comfortable. You leave them folks alone. And go ahead, First Lady, because see, I done got riled up.
Thank you, Mother. So let me add to that. If you think about all of our transitions and some of the things that we all just think about, and I know for me personally, how growing up in high school and middle school, just think about, and if y'all can think about this, and whoever's out there watching, think about during those years of middle school and high school, the things that we did probably to get in trouble, acting out, we wasn't at our full potential. Like, all of us are beautiful young ladies now. We are thriving. We're so successful within our own right. But just to think, all them years in the past that we sat in the back of the class, or we were a little quiet, or we acted out and got in trouble because we didn't know what to do with the energy that was inside of us that wasn't being nurtured. Now watch Zaya, how beautiful she's going to turn out, being able to have that support at an early. Baby, do you know what I would have looked like if I was able to go to the prom the way I wanted to go?
Hello.
Do you know how my prom would have been so set off? But think about it. I can never show none of my prom pictures. My junior prom or senior, my high school photo, I can't never show that. So it's like a half of our life erased because we couldn't go and be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? But just to think, everybody know I'm bold, I can talk, and just imagine if I would have been able to experience this as a child. I know I would have been married with a couple kids, more kids by now. I wouldn't have had to sneak and have Justine, in the 11th grade. I would have been able to have her proud.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And wear my little maternity dress. But I'm just saying, just the support nationally and publicly. It's one thing living in the public eye, but to live in the public eye with a trans child, that speaks volumes, especially within the Black community and the Black Christian community. Just think about all the people, little boys being touched and stuff, and they were able to express. Oh my God, that would just be so amazing. That would be so amazing.
To continue to let me sing in the youth choir.
Right.
With your tambourine.
With my
Right.
No cares.
Right. And then I didn't have to be on the usher board. I could award. Oh, I remember, speaking of the youth choir, we had these tan skirts. They was called fishtail. Baby, honey, y'all didn't let me get my skirt appropriately.
Right. You had to wear them flat.
They deprived me.
Deprived you of your joy. Just to piggyback on all the conversations, I tell my family, even to this day, because it's tolerated but not 100% accepted, even though whatever the things I may do for others. So I try to explain to my family, even right now, to say, so if I could have been my authentic self growing up, how far I would be now, because it took me all this time to not really find myself, but to be true to myself. And if I could have did that at 19 and not 40, then that's 20 years of me searching for, I can't be successful if I don't know who I am. So let me just be who I am if that's going to be something positive. And you don't know until you allow me to do that. So I think what the Wade family is doing is really remarkable. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, they shouldn't do that, they shouldn't do that. Okay, so what about the family over here who have children that are killing people, who are pedophiles, who are sexually abusing people? So it's okay for them to do that. And I know some families that will accept people who are on drugs or who kill people less than they would someone who just want to be themselves, period, whether it's transmasculine syndrome, GNC, or any of that. So I think that what they're doing is amazing because they're raising their child within love and not the boundaries of what society has created. And then people are just mad because he's a Black man. If he was a white man, nobody would care. Nobody would be talking about all that. But they set standards that they're not going to follow that red carpet that everyone wants them to follow. And they're powerful enough and intelligent enough to know that my child sanity is more important than checking off some boxes for society itself. And that speaks volumes, like you all said, because I mean, a lot of people would tell their child to, no, don't act like that. Don't, I remember people saying, oh, why do you walk like that? Why you hold your hand like that? Don't do this, don't do that. Why are you wearing that? I'm wearing this because this makes me happy. It's just clothes. And y'all care about that? So I think it's remarkable what the Wade family is doing.
And I think it goes back to what we were saying too, in towards the beginning of the conversation. We all grew up in different generations of our transition because of how the LGBTQ community is so exposed now. It is so much more easier, for people to actually come out and actually be who they want to be. Because everybody knows I'm a TikTok guru. So
we know.
We've seen it.
So I've been seeing this Generation Z situation with these children that's growing up now, saying that we don't have I don't give a F attitude. I'm going to be who I want to be, and that is so powerful in itself. So I just want to say that growing up in an era where people are saying, you know what, I can be who I want to be, and these people are and their families are actually supporting. And I want to just put this precursor out there. Their Black families are supporting their transgender children on TikTok. I have seen it. It is beautiful, and I try to comment on every time I see it. So kudos to Generation Z. Thank you all.
And you know what though, and the funny thing is, because I know that a lot of societies, especially within the South and within communities of color, they feel like we are trying to force our lifestyle or who we are on other people. I have nieces that are 7 and like 10, and a few years ago they said, "Oh, Auntie, she's a transgender," out of nowhere. It's like these children know what transgender are. They have
Hello.
access to a lot. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
They have access to a lot of information. They have phones at their fingertips. They know what it is. And before anybody even told them who I was, they knew. And so my sisters and my family members would be like, how are we supposed to tell them about you? You don't have to say anything about me because they'll know. And when it's time, they'll know. They're not going to treat me any different because they don't see me and they don't know me as any different from being there.
Who you are. Right.
That's like my nieces. My nieces grew up knowing Uncle Zay, but now I'm TT Zay.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I believe they love TT Zay more than
You better know it.
Right.
because they already know. They already know that when I come, we finna have a good time. We finna turn up. We're gonna, the love that I get from my nieces it's just so freaking beautiful. It's so beautiful. So this generation, like you said, Justine, the access of the overwhelming knowledge that they have of the internet and all of this accessibility that they have, oh my God, they know these things. They trust me. They know what's going on.
Right, exactly. So that brings me into kind of talking about access. So I know for just being open and honest from myself, when I first began on my medical journey to become who I was, resources such as hormone replacement therapy and surgery, that just wasn't an option. So we would engage into the underground and the black market and our sisters and our aunties and all
Our
of those.
cousins, birth control.
Cousins, birth control, like that would do anything to
Girl,
get
get you an extra one so I can pop them pills, girl.
to get the needed medication. And I know, like, just to be open and honest, years ago was the first time that I actually had a job that offered like health insurance. So I done went into my name, general market change, just then did it all by myself. And I had to go into these people's healthcare facility. And they're like, you don't have any letters? I'm like, right, I've never been to no doctor about hormones. This is what you get. So everybody was so shocked. So what is your experience navigating through healthcare systems? Do you see a difference in the past than you do now? Like, let's kind of talk about that. Let's start with Miss Star with 2 R's.
So when I started, everybody knew who the hormone lady was. You go to her, you get what you need, and that be it. So that's how you got started. I end up, I like you. It was, I think, one of my beginning. Oh, I don't want to get in no trouble, but
take your time.
One of my I had access back in the day. We were stunt queens. So one of my girlfriends,
True story.
There was a place in Midtown, right there by Back Street. That doctor, he was good with getting you, medications. Whether you had insurance or not, you just had to pay a little bit or whatever. So it was, it was easier. It cost a little bit more. But then once we were able to go to him and get the prescription pad, we started writing our own prescription. We just had to find somebody insurance to put it under because it would be so expensive you could never afford it. So like I was fortunate enough. My first job, I was like, oh, early 20s, and I had insurance, so I didn't know how to act, and I was smart. You know, it was new, and I had a nurse practitioner that did not know. You know, like nowadays the doctors want to be by the book, but I had that lady writing me. She was like, "Well, what do you take?" I said, "Oh, I need 2 Premarin per day, 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening."
The purple
And
one.
so that doubled up my prescription. So I was able to share with my sister. And I had her give me my shots. You're supposed to get 2 cc's every 2 weeks. I told her I need 2 cc's 3 times a week. So I was getting like 5 bottles.
Okay.
And my blockers, I was taking them. I told her I need 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. So it kind of helped me a little bit.
Okay.
But it's
But
hard.
you left that in the past. Like we moving.
Yeah. So nowadays, I just feel like the struggle is still real, because when you think of the average trans woman, they don't have insurance, and only way you can get them if you are in care, or if you are able to be in care or whatever. Those providers will write prescriptions for you as long as you're taking your other medication. But if you're not HIV positive and you don't have insurance, how are you going to take your HRTs, or where are you going to get them from? Because you surely without insurance you cannot. It's impossible to be able to afford them. It's not like a local clinic, like a CVS mini clinic or whatever you can go to get them. So the struggle for being able to get them it's obsolete. You cannot get them. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, you can get the Mexican hormones." Why are you gonna get to Mexico?
Right.
Fortunately enough, we're in a era where we can find little stuff on the internet. But once it comes to us, we don't know what's in them pills.
Right. Anybody else?
I would just want to say I've been fortunate enough to actually work during my transition, even before my transition. So I had to go through private insurance and pay my own private insurance, but I had to make sure that I selected a plan that would cover my HRT, which made it a little bit more expensive. However, I was like, I need this. I want it. So at whatever cost, my premium before has been close to $350. That's for health insurance. And so that helped me a lot because it covered my HRT where I didn't have to come out of pocket with it. So for me, I've just been fortunate enough to have employment to pay for insurance in order to get my HRT. That's just been my journey.
Beautiful.
Well, in my journey, unfortunately, I have high hypertension. So when I would engage in trying to get HRT, I never really completed or a whole cycle, if you will, until now that I have a job with health benefits and things of that nature. I know starting out, I have a few best cousins that are like sisters, and I'm like, girl, because you hear in the streets when you first come out, well, if you take those pregnancy pills, girl, you get fleshy, you get this, you get that. So I'm like, girl, make sure you get your extra little tablet so I can take them. Okay, I got you, cuz. So I would take their stuff, and here and there you will be with a girlfriend, and if the girlfriend was hustling or stunting, as my sister said, they would have an extra little, we would Google. Well, Google wasn't as much then 10 or 15 years ago like now, but the girls would find out from another girl who actually went to a doctor and found out that, okay, if you take that purple premium, then that's going to give you what you need or whatever. But not knowing that every body composition is different and you need to be followed by a doctor so you can do the right things. So I think with me, I started, my girlfriend she got some extra pills. My cousin had some some extra stuff. So combined with all those things, I never had a true regimen until now. So yeah.
So
That's
it's
how.
imperative. Thank you, beautiful, and all of y'all. But it's imperative that any like medical providers are out here and listening. Really just network with folks that are able to provide HRT because believe it or not, the trans women, especially in my experience, we're gonna get it anyway. So it's best to work with care and somebody who belongs to us, so we won't do any lasting damage on our body. So if you know anyone, or you know a professional, or you can read from WPATH to just make sure that you're educating yourself, and you can at least refer somebody to some resources that could potentially save their lives and not do any damage. Speaking of that, because we kind of talked about healthcare insurance, so I know a big major issue within the trans community, especially for trans women of color, is employment and homelessness. How was it for you all navigating just within your own areas of where you lived? I know a lot of y'all relocated to Atlanta. How was it like navigating trying to get a job? Did that cause your relocation to Atlanta to be able to work? So I'll tell you first. So I know personally for me, I knew that I was not going to be able to find a job as myself in my hometown. So I knew eventually if I wanted to work and, you know, be successful, that I would have to move out of that city and come to a place where people were a little bit more friendly and accepting. So what are your experiences with just trying to navigate through employment, find jobs, keep jobs, you know, whatever in relation to that?
Well, when I'm sorry, oh, you want to go, beautiful? Okay, so I was gonna say for me, when I moved up I moved to Decatur in 2013, and I started working for a company out in Marietta in 2013, and I was there up until 2017. I started my transition in 2016, the year before, and I had been there, worked myself up from just working in someone's house, taking care of them, being a caretaker, all the way up to a area coordinator and a DDP once I graduated college. And a lot of the parents, because I would have to, and I was area coordinator, so I would have to go into the houses, check books and check, medications and all of that stuff, ask questions. And so I had to my director at the time. I had to write a letter, send a letter out saying that I was transitioning and this and that and the third, so all the parents would know, so it wouldn't be an issue. However, it ended up becoming an issue anyway because a lot of the parents started calling the CEO, who I had a really good relationship with, or so I thought. And so I want to say a year after, almost a year after that, they let me go. And thankfully, this is why education for me, and I stress that, is so important, because my education allowed me to transition right over into another job where I was able to get $12,000 more on the job. I was, it wasn't as stressful. My boss, it is a Black-owned business. She accepted me. It wasn't an issue. There really wasn't any, problems. And I've been there ever since then. And so that's why the position that I'm in now, I try to encourage the trans women that I know who are looking for a job. Listen, I'm in a position where I can hire you. Like, come on. If you see me post something on my Facebook saying, listen, if you have CNA experience, caregiving, caretaker experience, let me know, because I can actually hire you. And so, that's just been my experience. I thought I knew that some of the issues that came along with transitioning was possibly losing my job, because Georgia is a right to work state, and they really don't have to give you a reason to let you go. However, discrimination is very real, and because those parents and then I discovered later on some of my coworkers took issue with me transitioning. That's why I was let go. But thankfully, I was able to gain employment, and I'm doing better there than I was there. So I'm just grateful. And let me just put this precursor out there. Listen, I am in a space where I can hire trans women if you are a CNA or a caregiver or you have any experience, because I sit right up under the CEO. We're hiring right now during a pandemic. We're hiring.
Okay, girl. So I got about 5 trans women I'm about to send to you, girl. So we'll be talking. Don't
Please do. Yes.
the public
Yes.
sees this. Anybody else?
For me, before there were name changes, gender marking changes, all that carrying on, because I came out years ago, 20 years ago. For me, I just figured out a way to navigate and charm my way through an interview and to show up like I wanted to be treated. So if I wanted them to respect me as a woman, would make sure that when I show up, my name might say this male name, but I have my girl name in parentheses, and then I'll explain once I get there, and I show up and I be professional. So that works for me. It may not work for everyone, but like I tell girls all the time, listen, however you want to be respected, show up like you want them to respect you. Because before there were name changes, all that, I worked in corporate America in the escalation department with a lot of cis people, whatever. And it's all about being educated, being professional, and letting your skills shine and don't have an attitude all the time. You know what I mean? Like some of us are just mad because we're just mad. And
Right.
because we put up that front because we think that will kind of cover us, but sometimes that come off a little um angry, and people don't want that in their professional setting. So I would say to individuals to trust in the process, love yourself, because whatever you love, it will show when you execute your presentation. So that's how I navigated. I mean, I even got a job one time. I was still a boy trying to figure out what I want to do. One side of my hair was cornrows, the other side was a bush, and I put on a thing and I say, "Look, sir, I need a job. I have great work ethic. I'm a hustler. Whatever you need me to work, every shift and all that. I work days, nights, weekends, and all that stuff. But now I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to do weekends. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. But to get started, you have to do what you have to do. And I always encourage people to show up like you want to be respected, and you hopefully won't have any problems. That was my
My work experience, I can remember um, back in the day in the hometown that I came up, you always would have to go through this. It was this work temp agency called Megaforce. And I showed up, I presented as I present. And, child, it was a construction site. But I was so dainty and kind. I had my little hat on. I think I had purple overalls. So they still treated me like fish. They didn't make me do what what the gentlemen were doing. I would do little light stuff, pushing, sweeping little area, whatever. So, you just did what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by the time I was new, I don't even know if I was figuring out the transition. But by the time I came to Atlanta, in 93, I already knew what it was. I already had my name changed. And unlike you all, I used to use a cigarette and burn the gender on it. So everybody that would see my ID, it would be a cigarette burn. I was very crafty. But so when I got here, of course, I worked in entertainment in the evening. But, I stayed in a weekly hotel on Peachtree and then I moved up to like a studio. So I got me a job at the airport, working at Hudson News. I remember it like it was yesterday. I got a job at Hudson News, but I was determined, I had my name changed early on. But I was determined I wasn't gonna go back. I wasn't gonna be a failure. So I kept my, head afloat, even though, I might have had these little jobs that was 30, 35 hours or whatever. I added to that income with, my nighttime income. I was very strategic about making sure that I need a job. Y'all not gonna give me full 40 hours because y'all ain't want to give me the insurance, but I need to be off in time to make sure I get my evening work in. So I just made sure that I was always strategic to make sure that this was able to go with this so I can have a whole. So employment was never nothing for me. It wasn't so much of a struggle because my first job, even coming here, I know I worked at McDonald's first, but I still, made sure I added that to what I needed to add it to. And then I went on to go and back to school and get my cosmetology license. And even going through cosmetology school, it was full time, so it was like 9 to 5. So I couldn't work because by the time you got out of school, they wanted you there by 2 or 3 o'clock. So I had to add to that income.
Okay, we got you.
Got
We got you.
A hustler.
A hustler, a grinder.
Hey, we got to do what we got to do by all means necessary.
Necessary.
By all means necessary. Get it out of the mud. Okay. So we're gonna wrap up. First off, thank you all for just agreeing to do this. Y'all know y'all my girls, the Southern Bells. So what I want to do is, this is Saving Ourselves Symposium. So what I want y'all to do is to just kind of briefly end with just saying, what type of legacy do you want to leave behind? When you're gone, what type of legacy do you want to leave behind? Oh. Y'all all right?
That's deep. We're here.
That's a serious question, because we're all in spaces and in places of wanting to help people.
Right.
And so of course we want our legacy to be more than just, helping people. We want it to be more than that. I'll say for me, I want people to know her character spoke louder than anything she could have ever done, the way she carried herself. Because anybody that knows me know I am such a compassionate person, and I just love people. I actually break down when I can't help people enough. And so I think character for me is something that I definitely want to be left, so that people can model that, you know what, I want to be like her when I grow up. I want to have that heart of compassion and kindness and understanding and love and acceptance and inclusivity, to and for all people, just not trans people, but for all people, regardless of whatever. So I think that's what I would like my legacy to be.
Thank you.
And for me, my everyday journey is to work on myself. And in working on myself, I like to encourage others to work on themselves. So just to be a better me and a better person, and anyone who know me know that I would do anything, anytime, whatever it takes to help and assist to get this shit done. So my legacy would be Beautiful with 2 L's was always real and always available, no matter where, when, calling me, social media, whatever. I'm going to be there, and whatever we got to do, we're going to make it happen, no matter what. So my legacy would just be encouraging others to be the best they could be, as well as myself.
That's good.
So my legacy, and I don't want it to be just when I'm gone. I want to make sure that I live it currently, so you'll know that I've always, in spite of what people may think personally, everyone will know that if there was some work to be done to help the trans community, Tiffany always made it a part, her business, to be able to help. So, just I guess piggybacking what everybody else is saying, I don't want to be talking about the work. I want to make sure that I'm hands on in the work. And I want to make sure that, not that I'm looking for a trophy, because I know my reward will come when it's time for my reward to come, which is in heaven. But here on earth, I want people to know that I work with some fabulous girls. And we always try to make sure that our lives matter, and people know that the work that we've done. And I know for sure I'm a living testimony. I can see some of the work just with Zarian starting off, how we have inspired her. And just with you being my daughter, Justine, I'm so proud of you and the work
Mhm.
that you're doing. And even so, I know that, even with private conversation that we've had, and how you'll say, you've inspired me and I'm thankful or whatever, you know, just us inspiring each other and uplifting, because I don't know everything. We all don't know everything, but collectively, there's nothing that we can't do. So I feel like I'm honored to be here living my legacy, you know what I'm saying? And to be able to see my seeds grow and blossom. So I'm just thankful.
And thank you all again. Everybody out there, make sure that you hug a trans person today and tell them that you love them.
Yes.
Black trans lives matter. So thank you all again for tuning in. And this is the SOS Talk with the Southern Bells. Everybody say bye.
Good night. See you later.
Mwah.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Later. How do I get out?
You're trying to get out.